What's up, my Posnonos? Welcome back to our brand new discussion video. Now, this is going to be one of the most unscripted discussion videos I've probably ever done, and it's one that I kind of really want to talk about in great detail, so bear with me on this. I have a lot to think about. I love Adventure Time, and as we all know, there was recently a series that actually, a spin-off series called Fionna and Cake that just literally came out. The last episode of it just came out on Thursday, and I have got a lot to think about. You know, a lot of things, like a lot of cartoons and stuff, they try to push messages, and they try to give you a moral or something like that, like a lesson that you're supposed to learn. And a lot of them do actually come off as pretentious and just overblown. A lot of them have been done already, oh, you got to be appreciative of what you have, you got to do this, you got to love people, you got to be morally right, and all that stuff is good and all, but I've seen a lot of it. But god damn, after watching the final episode of Adventure Time with Fionna and Cake, I gotta say, I was legit intrigued. I was interested. I was confused on what I had just watched, and I legit labeled it as smart. And I gotta say, this is one of the best cartoons I think I've ever watched in terms of, its thought-provoking nature. I honestly think that this has got to be one of the most definite, this is just an experience, man. And if you've ever watched this, already, you'd probably know why I say this is an experience. But I just kind of want to make this video just to talk about and discuss some things, some theories, and some of my opinions on Adventure Time, because Adventure Time is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I just want to, gush about it for a little bit. Adventure Time is one of my favorite cartoon shows of all time. Back in the day, when Adventure Time had literally just came out, I was 9 years old. This was early 2010. I was 9 years old, and I was extremely excited for Adventure Time. I was so excited for Adventure Time that back in the day, when I didn't really use the internet, but when I did go on the internet, I used to go to cartoonnetwork.com, and I saw that they were promoting the new series of Adventure Time. And I remember going on there, I was like, what is this? What is this? And it was a show about a boy and his dog that could stretch and stuff like that, and it was whimsical. It was very fitting for the time, because at the time, stuff like Chowder and Flapjack were on, and seeing real was kind of annoying to me, because that was real stuff, it was trying to be like Disney Channel at the time. But Adventure Time came in, and it was a breath of fresh air, at the time. And I was like, wow, this is going to be so freaking cool. And I was completely hyped, because mind you, on the website, you had sneak peeks of the actual first episode. Or I think even the first Ice King episode where Ice King kidnaps a lot of the princesses, and then Finn and Jake kind of had to stop him. They had some sneak peeks of that, and they even had Righteous Quest, which if you are in real Adventure Time, you would if you're a real fan, you would know Righteous Quest was a flash game that they had online that was really popular, and actually it got a sequel too. But Righteous Quest was released before the show came out, so that was my peek into the series. And the premiere was when I saw the premiere, it was amazing. I was there, there was this party going on that me and my mom went to, and they had some kids, and there was this big movie theater type of balcony thing, and all the kids we were outside just watching Cartoon Network, and I was like, oh my god, wait, doesn't the premiere of Adventure Time come on tonight? And I looked, and I was like, lo and behold, Adventure Time is right there. And I loved the first episode. I loved Slumber Party Panic, and I loved Lumpy Space Prince, the Trouble in Lumpy Space episode. Ever since then, I have been a die-hard Adventure Time fan. I love the entire series, but that is maybe a little bit debatable. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was hooked into Adventure Time probably from 2010 probably to 2014. I love this series, but it was until the grass sword, a little bit after Finn got the grass sword, was when I kind of waned off from Adventure Time, when I was starting to I still saw some episodes, but I didn't watch a lot of it, because at first Adventure Time was a happy-go-lucky Adventure Time type show. Now, the thing about Adventure Time was season 1 definitely did feel like the most Cartoon Network, the typical Cartoon Network show at the time. They had a little bit more mature themes with like what they said, like saying stuff like sexy and freaking and saying stuff like suck and stuff like that. But it definitely did fit into Adventure Time at the time. It did fit into Cartoon Network at the time. And the reason why is because of that. If you know what you would know that the creators of that show, the writers of that show, well, Pendleton Ward actually worked on Flapjack. And some of the writers from I think from Flapjack actually did work on Adventure Time, and some of them, and J.G. Quintel actually created Regular Show, and I think one of those creators from Flapjack actually did create Gravity Falls. I'm not too sure about that, but that was like another Johnny Bravo, basically. Like there was a whole bunch of up and coming like artists and writers and stuff like that making new shows, and Flapjack was like another one of those. So it was just like a different, it was amazing at the time to see that Adventure Time kind of was still falling in line to that, because that was the type of cartoons I used to like back in the day. A lot of people say that season 1 of Adventure Time is like a slow burn. I still look back at that season though with fond memories. I think the show started off strong. They say it's weird, and I don't understand that. I never got like the impression that Adventure Time season 1 was like really weird, but I personally didn't think it was. I thought it was amazing. As the show got on, it got a little bit like deeper and in some sense darker, a little bit more depressing, but a little bit more mature. It still tried to mask that with its Adventure Time-y weirdness, but I think that kind of went in like, I don't know, to me it wasn't really warranted. You know what I'm saying? Like there would like be some dark thing that would happen, and then they would like try to take away some of that emotional value by having some joke happen or something like that. I don't know. A lot of that is kind of how I look at it, but I'm not saying like this is bad, because before Fionna and Cake actually came out, I would say that I probably didn't really like the next couple. I've always said this. I didn't really like the last couple of seasons of Adventure Time, because I think it lost a lot of what the show had when I first watched it. But after watching Fionna and Cake, I gotta say, I think I actually like it a lot more now. It's kind of weird how that like kind of flips it on its side and all that stuff, but I really do. I found a lot more appreciation in it. But just to get into that, I still didn't like Distant Lands. I don't really agree, with like how like Finn and Jake, like apparently they died and they went to the afterlife. And then apparently, Finn and Jake reincarnate. I don't like that personally. Like the fact that they already lived their lives and they're going to go back to the world. Like, why don't they just stay like in paradise, And the other thing is like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because there's like the whole thing with Shoko. Like, that's basically one of Finn's past lives. How the hell is Finn going to see and be afraid of Shoko in those episodes that he was afraid of her and he saw her and stuff? And he's but that's like his past life. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like the whole entire reincarnations thing has never made sense to me. But I did love Adventure Time, and I was sad to see it go. But when they announced like Fionna and Cake as being like a spin-off series, I was very, very excited for the series, because for one thing, they said it was an isekai. This is at first what they were saying. Like, this is going to be a spin-off series of Adventure Time. It's going to be an isekai, and it's going to be exploring Fionna and Cake and stuff like that. And I was like, this is really awesome, because it's going to be its own thing. It's not going to be tied to Adventure Time, which I just like it when new stories come about. It's not going to be tied to Adventure Time. It's going to be an isekai, and like, it's going to be an adult animation. And I know that might like turn off some people, because when I think of adult animation, I think of just useless, edgy jokes for absolutely no reason. Like people got to excessively cuss, drink, smoke, all that stuff, and it just gets a little bit too much to me. That's not adult to me personally. And sometimes it's like the question is like, what is an adult? But needless to say, I was very excited for it in general. So of course I'm excited. Like I feel like looking back now, I was probably excited like how I was when Adventure Time like was first coming out itself. And that's actually another thing. Every single episode that came out, I was watching it the day it came out, and I was just super excited, glued to my screen. and I was just super excited for it, like I was when I first watched Adventure Time, when I used to like literally like wait for the episodes to come out, going through all those commercials, go through all those days waiting for another episode to come out. That was how it was for Fionna and Cake for me. I was super excited for it that much. I felt like I was like 10, 11, I was like those ages again when I was first watching Adventure Time, and I was just so excited because every episode just got better and better and better. But the thing about it is that it was a lie.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
This I mean, I guess you could technically call this an isekai, but this was not an isekai. In reality, this was just straight up an Adventure Time sequel. This was a spin-off, I guess, but it was a spin in still the same story. It was the same Adventure Time that we grew to love, but it was now in a multiverse type of scenario, you know. And I know apparently we're getting tired of multiverse thing, and I can't help but agree, but I still loved this anyway. Like, I don't think that really, like, the oversaturation of like multiverse stuff didn't really get too much to me, but I did like it myself, you know. I didn't really care too much about, you know, being like overshot, like being overdone. But every episode, man, I was like watching it, and it was just so amazing. I loved everything about it. I don't think this is going to be the video of me like reviewing it like word for word, going through like the story and stuff like that, but I did like a lot of things about it. Fionna was great. I did like her. You know, they made her body more proportional, I guess, more thicker. She was cool. Cat cake, or more cat cake, or realistic cat cake. That sounds like a disgusting food, but that was very interesting to see. I really did like Fionna and Cake's like designs, and I did like the more realistic human world. I love like I as an Adventure Time fan, like as a diehard Adventure Time fan, I got a lot of weird. I got like a whole lot of references and stuff like that, like with like the human characters. I was like, oh, that's Chuscoos, that's Starchy, that's Fern. Wait, Fern? I was like, wait a minute. And I saw like DJ Flame, which is apparently supposed to be like Flame Princess, and Fern, you know, and I like the female at least. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this supposed to imply that Flame Princess is supposed to get with Fern or something? I don't know. I'm probably looking too much deep into that, but like, that was a lot of like, I was like seeing a lot of references and stuff, and it was just super intriguing. As an Adventure Time fan, it really did like pays an homage to the, you know, the original series, seeing like all the characters and stuff like that. I will have to say, one thing that actually did better in the show as opposed to original Adventure Time was Princess Bubblegum and Marceline's relationship. And by that I mean I don't know his name, Prince Gumball and Marshall Lee. Yeah, basically. Their relationship is a lot better written. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I never liked PV and Marcy being together. I just thought, for one thing, it was forced, and it just kind of came out of nowhere to me. And I know some people are gonna say like, nah, there was like references like in other episodes, and I'm like thinking about like the episodes that they're referencing, and it's like I don't think like as far as I know, like they knew each other at first, but I don't think they were like in an intimate relationship. I was never thinking of it like that, but apparently like, oh, eventually down the line they have feelings for each other, you know. And I know like at the end of the series like they kiss, but it's like I was like confused. I was like, what? Like I never got like that. Like it just kind of came out of nowhere to me. But I thought them, like Marshall Lee and Prince Gumball being together, that was a lot like better written. It was just a lot more understandable, and what they kind of went through was just better. You know, when I saw like the evil Marceline and the dark version of Princess Bubblegum together, I'm gonna be honest, like the whole like implied love thing between them, I was just sitting there like rolling my eyes. I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't really care about it. But you know, the Marshall Lee and Gumball stuff, it's pretty alright. It's pretty cool. You know, and I just gotta say that's one thing they actually did better with there. I just thought it was a lot more better developed. And I'm gonna be honest, I think a large part of that is that I was a lot more like interested in seeing, I think what you call it, like ooh is ooh, which that's Finn's world, but I think Fiona's world is called which I like. I'm gonna call it because I think that's what it's actually called, but I'm not sure. But I was more interested in seeing And I was just like I don't know, it had a little more of a lighter spiel on it, maybe because it didn't have all that previous backing of whatever was going on. But I did like seeing more. I was more interested in Fiona's world, but more than Finn's. The one thing I wanted to see though was Finn and Jake and Fionna and Cake teaming up. That was one thing I thought they were going to do, especially with the start of that one episode where Finn and Jake were actually like fighting like how they used to anyway. And, you know, I was like, wow, I think they're going to do that. But they don't actually do that. I mean, you know, Fionna does meet like Farm Road, like, you know, Finn. But we don't know if he's actually dead too. I don't know about that. I hope he's not, because that's another thing I got to talk about. Like, shit. I mean, anyway. The thing is, though, like, that's another thing, though. Like, Finn and Jake. You know, they show, like, I thought that, like, he got that tattoo of Jake before, like, you know, when he died or something like that. But as we can see in that one part, like, Finn had the tattoo when Jake was still alive, you know. And while Jake did seem kind of tired in that one fight, like, some people were saying, like, oh, he's probably getting older now. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't look that bad. Like, it doesn't look like he's that old, and he doesn't look like I feel like Jake in the original series would look like that. I don't know. So there now is a question of, why did Finn get that tattoo, and how long did Jake live? Because it's implied that he probably died not too long after the original series, but then he's an adult in that, like, Finn and are there as an adult and they're working together. It's weird to me. I don't really understand it, but you know, maybe we'll see it in like another season, but I'm not sure about that. Who knows if this is even gonna get another season? I'll talk about that later. But the big thing about this whole entire series is Simon and Betty, and I've wanted to talk about this for a while. Simon and Betty's relationship is something that has very much intrigued me over the course of Adventure Time, and I'm not going to get into all the specifics of it. Just know Simon and Betty were like a couple, and because, like, you know, she apparently saw him in her class, they started dating because she sacrificed a lot of stuff for him. And a lot of the series of Fionna and Cake was actually focusing more on Simon, which is kind of interesting, because, like, I think it did have a good, like, because, like, the main characters are definitely Fionna, Cake, and Simon. I thought like them, like, focusing, like, I don't think it was like disjointed. Like, I think the focus on all three of them was equal. I think Fionna had her share, I think Simon had his share, but I think Simon's story kind of rung a bell with me even more. Like, it rung louder with me, not because it was necessarily relatable. Actually, it was, but not much with, like, Betty, but, like, his entire thing about being depressed, because, like, his big thing is, like, Simon is depressed in this time because now that he's not Ice King, he's not insane anymore. You know, he's normal. He compares himself to everybody else in Ooh, and he's like an outsider. He's like a dinosaur. He's not anything like the weirdness of Ooh. And, you know, he's being depressed now. He's like thinking, like, what's the point of it? And he still misses Betty and goes out to, like, you know, look for her. He's trying to, like, you know, summon her or something like that, like with gold. And he's really just doing so much to get back to her, to the point where, you know, he thinks that, you know, they go through all this stuff, and he thinks that he should put on the crown to make Fiona's, like, world go back to its magic state. You know, it gets into basically all that because Fiona's world is in danger because it's not supposed to exist, because the whole thing about Fiona's world is that it's basically a fan fiction created by Prismo that he just made, and he injected into the Ice King's mind. And then, you know, that just kind of like happened. And now that all that magic that Simon had in his brain when he was, you know, when he was Simon, or when in his head, that's all gone because he took the crown. He doesn't wear the crown anymore. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, can you guys understand? Like, this is so discombobulating to me. You know, it's just the thing is now is that, like, Simon's trying to basically get back to Betty and save Fiona's world at the same time, but it all commemorates to a point eventually that they now like Finn, like, not Finn and Betty, but like Simon and Betty finally meet again, and now it's like a question of Simon and Betty's relationship in general. Simon and Betty's relationship is something that was the most interesting part about it to me, because I didn't watch that one episode back in 2018 where they explained that Betty was basically obsessed with Simon, and that she was really just going after him and sacrificing so much to be with him. And like Simon wasn't basically paying attention to that. He wasn't knowledgeable of that. And they actually acknowledged it in this series. And now he sees his error of his ways. And the whole entire thing was, what can he do to remedy that? What can happen? Can Simon realize this? Can he grow and become a person? And the whole, like, I like that part, like when he's inside Shermie's head and like he's basically playing that book game or whatever. And the thing is that the book represents what Simon and Betty's relationship was like, because the girl in that story was sacrificing so much for the male character, just like Simon. And you know, she was, at the end of the day, there was two choices that they could only make in the end, and that was either to sacrifice or sacrifice, and there was really no good ending. And that was a perfect like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, a perfect analogy piece, I guess, to describe, you know, Simon and Betty's relationship, because of the choices that they made with their you know, her sacrificing like so much to see her, him putting on the crown, and now him like trying to get to her as much as he can and missing her, and like all that stuff. All those choices were made. There's no taking them back. And even when Simon and Betty actually get to meet each other again, and he's like, yo, this isn't actually how it happened, that struck something with me, because I was like, wait, yeah, that's right. That's a choice. They have to live with that. There's no going back from that. And even Betty is like, yes, we made our choices and I regret nothing. And the whole thing about it is, the whole entire like message is like, they made their choices, and there's no going back from that, and they can live with that. The whole entire thing about this, like one of the big themes about this is acceptance. You know, this entire series is like acceptance, right? Simon and Betty finally, or at least Simon really, accepting the fact that this is the choice that he made these are all the choices that he made with Betty, and this is just how it is for him and her, you know? And they're also realizing that, you know, Simon and Betty's relationship, I guess you could say, was a little toxic, but not really. I would say that she was just, you know, obsessed with her. The love wasn't equal on both parts. There was definitely love, but it grew to obsession over time, or, you know, whatever. But maybe in a world where they could have like sacrificed stuff for each other and things could have been different, but this was not the case. This was not the relationship. And that was like the whole entire thing. And also like Fiona does tie into this, like basically over time, like Fiona realizes that, you know, her world is not magical, but they eventually, you know, she eventually like accepts her world for what it is. That's another topic for another day, because some people say like, oh man, like she accepts the world that she's in, but like, is that really the world that they really came from? Like, you know, I understand that, but that's not where I want to really focus on, because I thought it was very nice that Fiona does accept everything for what it is. And even then, that world does become a little bit more fun and lighthearted in the end. Like, there's a lot more fantastical stuff going on. The whole thing with him meeting Betty was just him getting closure. And I do think it was actually good for him to move on. He was kind of like talking to Betty, but he also wasn't too. The way that like Betty was talking, like once they like moved, like they were in their mind, was actually kind of weird to me. But you know, it was really weird. So of course, I thought at first, like the whole message of the relationship was that it wasn't really even, that the sacrifices Betty made for Simon weren't really balanced out by him making sacrifices for her. But then again, I thought about it, like, I was like, if that's the case, then if Simon put on the crown, because if you know what you know, like in that vampire episode, Simon, if he didn't have the crown, then the world would have ended up with like how it did with, you know, Marceline becoming how she was. like the evil Marceline or whatever, and that world just becoming really bad, you know. And that does, I guess, give Simon another reason to live, which again we'll get back to in a minute. Maybe if Simon put on the crown and made the wish, you know, when at the end of Adventure Time to merge with Gold, you know, as a big sacrifice to make up for the sacrifices that he made for you know, the sacrifices that actually Betty made for him, that would have maybe equaled it out, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they would have had a completely different ending if that happened. But that was not necessarily the case. The whole message in the end was probably to realize again that they made both of their choices. You know, Simon found the crown, he put it on, but you know, that sacrificed his sanity and the relationship with Betty, and Betty lost her sanity too. And the whole thing with Magic Man and trying, you know, her trying to find a way to help Simon, that was another sacrifice. That was a choice. And she loved him a lot, that she sacrificed herself to keep him safe. I mean, when you really look at it, which is really something my friend said, the only possible way for the two to have a completely different ending was for Simon to have never bought the crown, which is why, like, when he went to the memory of the past, he told Betty that he'd get on the bus with her, because originally he didn't. But if Betty chose to go on expedition with Simon instead of her trip, it wasn't a sacrifice, it was just another experience. And in the finale, if that was actually Betty he interacted with, she didn't seem to regret or anything. It was more of a, we both made our choices, we were a wonderful experience and I don't regret it. Like, accepting things for how they are is like a big thing to this. But I think another thing that was important was Simon finding a reason to keep living. This is the part of the video where I'm gonna get completely confused. I have no answer for this. This is pure speculation on my part, and I'm just gonna like kind of go through some messages that I kind of went through with my friends, and I'm talking about this, and this is like kind of the big point of the video. This is a question, right? This is the big giant question that I have for you viewers. I want you guys to comment and give me closure on this, because I think this might be helping my own mental health, but I really need an answer for this part. The whole entire thing with, like, you know, Simon actually being depressed, he doesn't want to live anymore, you know. I just think that, like, I think another point thing was like Simon finding the reason to keep living. I still don't get how he found it, and like how he found like the way to live, the reason to live, and I really want to know why. I get the impression that the dark future showed that life was worth living and maybe accepted his choices, but I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. This is like, again, like what my friend said, you know, didn't he just find the crown online and he put it on as a joke for Betty? Like, he bought it online, and the whole reason why he put the crown on was as a joke, and then he went bonkers over time. The only way him and Betty would have gotten a happy ending was if he never got the crown, but if he didn't get the crown, the universe would have ended up like in the vampire episode. In all honesty, Betty and Simon probably would have died with the mushroom bomb / apocalypse. I don't think there was ever going to be a happy ending for them, which is why Simon just wanted to say goodbye to Betty and get closure. Of course, I say, damn, and that actually makes it even sadder, because it coincides with the book Simon read while he was in Shermie's body even more than it did before. There was literally no other way for this to happen, unless they were like completely different people. This is how things are, and they can't change that. I just don't understand how Simon could live after that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I really want to know why. If the love of his life is gone and they can't be together, he's stranded in an ooh with no one really no one being able to really relate to him, then how can life be worth living? Especially if Simon doesn't house Fionna and Cake's world in his head anymore. He's not housing it anymore. What's the point? I think I'm just trying to understand this for the sake of my own mental health. Of course, my friend, you know, Kai, you know, she says at the end of the finale, Simon's in therapy, and then he goes something like, "This whole experience with Fionna and Cake has helped me realize my life is worthwhile. I feel like it could be more of a thing now that he said goodbye with Betty, that he feels more at peace, or something more like he wants to keep living for Betty because she sacrificed herself for him, and he may just want to live his life for her, you know, which that implies like they still love each other, you know, like." Was this really obsession? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, was this really obsession at the end of the day, or was this like true love? Being able to sacrifice and live for each other, isn't that like kind of what love is? To want to see your partner, your best friend, or whatever you call him, your companion, be happy, or you making sacrifices and them being happy and stuff like that, you know, that does make sense. Him putting on the crown back on would be against, that's the thing about it. Him putting back on the crown would be against her wish to keep Simon safe. Going against what she sacrificed herself for. That's actually pretty damn smart and gives me something to legit think about it. And you know, just as a theory for fun, but since Betty wants to keep Simon safe, I'd like to think that maybe, just maybe, when Simon dies, maybe Betty will help him again. Maybe. I mean, I hope so. And maybe they could rekindle something of the sort. Sacrificing yourself to keep someone safe is a big deal, and maybe him dying will be part of that. You know, I don't know. My friend cites that one spin-off episode, you know, when Finn dies, you know, this is lands. And Simon, I actually do remember this, Simon was not in the dead world. Even if it was for a small moment, they probably would have shown Simon in the dead world. I mean, it is possible that Betty died technically when she murdered with Glob. Gold. Fuck. If so, they reincarnated together when Simon passed as well. Or he reincarnated by himself and all that stuff. But, and then this is the point, like, where I kind of had to say, like, nah, fuck this. I'm going to make a video about this. Because that all got into my head. You know, and I still want to, like, know the question. I want to know the answer, what you guys are really going to say. Like, what is really the point of living? Of just someone that has gone through all the stuff that Simon has gone through. What is the point of living after that? Like, living for someone else or living for yourself. For someone to have so much love for you to, like, sacrifice, can you really call that, like, complete obsession? If you want to now sacrifice yourself for that other person as well, to sacrifice your sanity to keep people safe and stuff. I don't know. I just don't know. I want to know your opinions on that, because there's a lot to digest here. And honestly, I've never thought about something like this, of this magnitude, since, like, I don't know, some, like, anime, I'll probably, like, My Hero or fucking any anime I've watched or something like that. I don't know. There's lots of things I could say. And in general, like, there, like, I don't know, like, there's just too much to think about. But I gotta say, there might be a season 2. I just realized that on the poster for this, it says season 1. So it's possible, maybe, if this is just a season 1. And I would really want to know, like, what else could they do from here? Would they explore Farm World more? Because, going back to Farm World, did you know that fucking Finn's son abandoned his, like, kids? Well, he didn't abandon, but it's not really confirmed if he died, but his, like, siblings, like the Farm World Finn's, like, son might be actually orphans now. And he just kind of left their universe and just went to Fiona's just because, you know, and that's cool and all, but goddamn, what the hell, did you just leave your siblings just there to fend for themselves? But, you know, I don't understand that, but, you know, whatever. I just don't know a lot, you know. It's just, there's so much to think about. I'm really looking forward to, though, if season 2 actually happens. It probably won't happen this year. I think I'm probably looking forward to, like, Invincible season 2 at this point. But I gotta say, man, it's crazy, you know, because it's implied in the show that, you know, like, I don't know, it's said that they're like 20, like, Fiona's like 29 in the show, you know, and I'm like 23 years old now. I just turned 23 a couple days ago, and I just gotta say, like, I can't believe I'm 23 and I'm still excited for Adventure Time. Like, I know this show is one of my favorite cartoon shows of all time, but I cannot believe that this can be, like, this show left so much impression on me that I'm still excited for new episodes to this day, and it has learned and grown with me. That's the thing about it. Looking back at original Adventure Time, like, I know that I probably didn't like the fact that, you know, the episodes were getting a lot more philosophical and deeper, but in turn, I was growing up with the series. The series started in 2010. You want to know when Adventure Time actually ended? It ended in 2018. I think it was like in September too, or like July. I don't know, somewhere around that time. And that was around the time when I turned 18. I literally grew up with Adventure Time. By the time I became an official legal young adult, That's when Adventure Time ended, and that is why like this series does like really hold a special place in my heart. I grew up with this series, and even though like I really didn't like the whole entire dark plots or the more philosophical, less happy-go-lucky plots, I'm looking at it in a different scope now, because this series like really just grew up with me. And even though I might not even like agree with a lot of stuff that the show says, it still like rings, like it still like has a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, you know, growing up recently, you know. And with Fionna and Cake, I just gotta say, like, this is a nice extension to like that universe, that line of thinking, because now, you know, it's not like as confusing as it was. It wasn't like dark and depressing as it was. I mean, it's still depressing sometimes, but like now the questions that I have are a little bit more deeper and philosophical. I'm thinking about how things work. What is my place in the world? What is everything? Like, what's the meaning of my life? What is the meaning of living? I'm going to be honest. Simon's story was really, and the reason why I'm very interested in his part of the story was because I'm just going to be completely real with you guys. I have honestly kind of lost a little bit of myself in terms of why I want to keep living. You know, a lot of the time I really do think about like, why do I really want to stay on this planet and stuff like that. And it's the reason why I'm like so interested in knowing like, how did Simon find a way? Was him just living for himself enough? Was it living for someone else enough? Or could he find new meaning and stuff? But how did he find new meaning if the stuff what means the world to him, if that went away, then how did he find new meaning in his life? If the things that really meant to him a lot to him, how did that coincide? What can he find new meaning in? He's an ooh still. He's still not a regular human like it was like an ooh. He's an outsider. He's different. It's crazy. Betty making all those sacrifices for him, he not making, like, that is the craziest thing to me. I am now thinking about this stuff. And I related a lot to Simon. Simon was great. And, you know, shout out to the voice actors. You know, Tom Kenny, how dare you be so goddamn amazing at voice acting and, you know, doing stuff and having your range. But, and like, he has a very recognizable voice, but he does have some range in terms of like his emotions and his voices. But, and, you know, it's just like, I really did connect with Simon in this. And, you know, I got a lot of stuff to think about myself. But Fionna and Cake in general was very, very just, I had a lot to think about. And it's like, again, Adventure Time is like aging with me. It's the weirdest thing to think about, really, though. Because, like, again, it come out at the time when I was happy-go-lucky and all that stuff was like Adventure Time. And then stuff got more serious and more bleak. And eventually, like, things got a little bit more harder to deal with, but I still kept going, and I still don't know why, but at the end of the day, that's kind of how like things went, you know, like this is just how things are. And I still think there's a lot of questions to be answered. I still want to go more into Adventure Time and really explore the deeper parts of this series, but you know, in general, I just have to say, like, goddamn, Adventure Time, how dare you? Pendleton Ward, you definitely made one of the best cartoon shows of all time, and I humbly just thank you for that, and the blessings that all of you, your writers and all that stuff. This is an amazing series that has definitely stood the test of time, and has definitely made one of the best adult animations I've ever seen. Nothing that's too stupid and grotesque, nothing that's stupid and just funny for absolutely no reason, and just offensive for absolutely fucking no reason. No. What we have here is a truly thought-provoking program, a thought-provoking piece of media that I definitely connect to. A lot of people could probably connect to, that definitely would make you, like, you know, entertain and make you feel some type of way after watching it. It's definitely not something that really can be explained exactly in you know, just a very simple form. But I just gotta say, like, I love this. I love Adventure Time to death. But with that, guys, I think that's going to be it. This is probably going to be one of my longest discussion videos on this channel. I've been a little bit gone. I'm now making this channel exclusive to like discussions and reviews and little idiot bitty other stuff like that. But with that being said, I do want to talk about Adventure Time in the future a little bit more, but at the same time, this is gonna be it for now. What did you guys think of Adventure Time with Fionna and Cake? What are your thoughts on the original Adventure Time? I would love to know in the comment section down below. And I really want to know, what is Simon's like reason for keeping on to live? Like, what is the actual point? I want to know something, because these things are really, really important to me, and I really want to know, like, genuinely, like, honest to God, I want to know why. What is it? Why is he so interested in living now? But well, you know, with that being said, guys, thank y'all for watching. This has been great. If you guys like this video, and if you guys like your song and want to see more, and subscribe to the channel. All my social medias will be in the description down below. But with that being said, guys, this has been Adventure Time with Fionna and Cake, an absolutely marvelous series. I would love to see more of Adventure Time in the future, but you know, the fun never ends, as they say. But with that being said, guys, thank y'all for watching. Have a good night there whenever you're watching this, and as always, hasta.